What would you say, Moira?
Well, I think that this question is so often misunderstood because following your life purpose, the truth is we all are. But sometimes people think it's got to be this big, grandiose thing, and it's got to be given to them from outside of themselves. And so, to your point about that guilt and shame, there's always a questioning.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Well, welcome. Hi, Moira.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
Fabulous. And listeners, welcome for joining Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Debz and Moira. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, you did good there, though.
Good. Yay. Oh, today's a goodie.
Of course.
I know, especially because Moira and I got on the call before this and we started talking about certain things, and then we're like, okay, what are we talking about? And we're like, oh yes, this is actually just what we talked about.
Happens so often, doesn't it?
It happens pretty much every time, but yeah, definitely. So welcome to Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Debz and Moira. I'm Debz, that's Moira. And our intention is just to change your level of thinking, give you insights and tips into how to change, and just be aware of who you are and what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Would be something to say.
Yeah.
So if you've listened to us before, fabulous. If you haven't, fabulous. Keep holding in there. We're going to we do a thing, we rate ourselves, and that's RATE. We rate ourselves on where we are emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, just the one rating. And we do this at the start of our podcast, and then you do it again at the end, and the intention is just to have your numbers shift. And I would like to say it's okay if your number shifts up or down. It's perfectly fine, or even if it stays where it is. But it's just a great litmus test guideline to see what's going on in your world, and if you're open to even hearing some certain things.
Absolutely. It's such an important part for awareness of the self, right?
Yes, absolutely. So 0 being completely neutral, balanced, zen and zened out, and 10 being crazy.
Stuck in
crazy,
chaos.
frazzled, rocking in the corner. I often reference it as I look at my corner and go, yep, I've sat there and hidden there before. But then you have to get up on all fours to roll over and get off the floor. Anyway, that's another story. So 0 to 10. Moira, where would you be emotionally, physically, spiritually, in your soul right here, right now? Before we start talking on this subject.
I'm in a really good place. I would say that I am at a 0 just within myself, but I'm really excited for this conversation. So I'm actually going to say 1.5.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like where are we going to go? We always go down different rabbit holes, and sometimes we don't even know where these conversations are going to go or what rabbit holes we'll dive down.
And at the end, we're like, okay, did we do that? Yeah, we did that.
That's what that was.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Well, I'm going to say I'm a 2 because I feel centered, but I also feel I feel a little bit, I'm going to say on edge. I feel something's going to come up in this that's going to make me address it. So I'd possibly say a little bit of nerves. I'm going to say I'm a 2.
Good.
So that's where we're at. It's pretty simple.
That's it.
Write your number down or don't write it down. But let's crack on. So are you following your life purpose is our topic today.
Yeah.
And there's so much just around that. You know, I hear that instantly and I go, are you following your life's purpose? And instantly I just go, guilt, shame, guilt just comes up, because if you're not, I would think that's the first thing that slumps into the level of chaos further down in the 10 scale.
Right.
10 scale. What would you say, Moira?
Well, you know, I think that this question is so often misunderstood, because following your life purpose, the truth is we all are. But sometimes people think it's got to be this big grandiose thing, and it's got to be given to them from outside of themselves. And so to your point about that guilt and shame, there's always a questioning. So for me, I know I'm living my life purpose, beyond the shadow of a doubt. But I've had conversations with people who will say to me, "Oh, it's you're so lucky." So,
how many? Can I just say, how many people come to you as a client and go, "Can you help me find my life purpose?"
Oh gosh, it's the thread that's throughout all my practice. Absolutely.
And you're like, shall I tell you now? You're already on it. Well, yeah, we can help you with that. But that's so, because you do think, oh, my life purpose is I need to take off the black jacket and put on the red jacket, or something, like something so grand and so different.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. But then, you know, the other part in here too that often gets confusing is, oh, my life purpose is I'm going to be a surgeon, a teacher, a lawyer, so people can sometimes get caught up in labels. But maybe your life purpose is to help people not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And so therefore, actually does
teacher,
not matter.
Surgeon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can do it in any role. That's the key piece, right? Is once you wake up to or recognize what is your unique gift, what is your
recognize
calling.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that in my client conversations, that's what I'm doing with them, is saying, no, you are already there. Let's look at the dialogue, the telling yourself the truth, the coming into the core of you, right? Hand over your heart to say, what makes my heart sing?
And I totally agree. Because we do get frazzled, and we do get preoccupied with certain things. One being other people telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing.
I know.
Especially growing up. I mean, I know my daughter, she's now 21, but you know, my daughter growing up, she was like, oh, I'm going to go see a career advisor at school today. We're going to talk about what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm going to talk to them about it, Mum. Okay. Off you go then. And she'd come home and she'd say, oh, I want to do ABC. And then, but the career advisor said, oh, there's no money in that. Or the career advisor said there's no things. And my daughter's like, oh, so I can't do that. Right. It wasn't the money thing. But one of the things I had to giggle is the career advisor said, my daughter's training to be a medic in the Air Force, in the New Zealand Air Force. And she's under 1 year to go. God, it's been a fun journey. But with that, when she went to the career advisor at school, they said they don't have many females in the military, not Army, Air Force. What is it? Army, Air Force, Navy. That's Navy. It. Yeah. What's that third one? They said they don't have many females in there. Don't bother going in there. And my little cherub was like, a little bit like Deborah. And she went, oh, I heard a challenge.
Yes, let's do this.
Game on. And that was one of the reasons that drove her to it, because the career advisor told her not to do. No, not saying that's what you need to be doing, is going against what people suggest to you. But one of the things is that they said to her, there's not going to be there's not many females in there, don't do it. Like, find something else that you can do being a female. It's an all-girls school. And Sophie was like, well, no, because that's what I want to do. It doesn't matter if I'm the only female, or that's
what I want to do.
99 females and there's one male. That's what I want to do. End of story. But it's interesting to have other people's perception is what I'm trying, what the bundle of that is, other people's perception, where they spin that onto you and you just go, oh, I'm not going to make money from that, or I'm going to upset my family from that, or my spiritual guide, or my sister, my sister's legacy, or whatever. And we listen to them over
our own heart.
Yeah.
Our own intuition, our own inner guidance. I love that you brought that in, because that's such an important part, and good for her, for Sophie, for being so in touch with what made her heart sing, or what her calling was. Because what you were saying about there's not many women in that field, or you can't make money in that career or that idea. That's, to me, that's conditioning. And because so therefore, if we took that on, then we are allowing the opinion of somebody else based on their own trajectory to derail or diminish what we already said we wanted to do. And when we are following our life purpose, it's not here to get somebody else's approval or somebody else's
no, but see, that's a hard thing. I would say that's, for me, it's not. but for majority, that's a hard thing. Is I just have to giggle. Moira's taking her top off because she's getting a little bit hot, and I've just put my heat pump on to get a little bit warmer. I just have to comment on that. Now, she's still got a top on, people. I just have to also clarify that. This just podcast is not going off there. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm just giggling because I literally just put my diversion, Deborah. Anyway, but that's one of the things that I don't find as hard decision, but you can upset so many people by doing that. If my daughter was a people pleaser, she would have said, oh my God, this teacher's so right. I can't do that because I'm going to have this confidence. And well, then she's going to listen to other people, and they go, yeah, you don't want to be in a male dominated area. You don't want to be doing this, and you don't want to be doing that. I knew with my daughter, she played hockey, water polo, and netball. They were her three main sports. And she would get injured. She would get injured, even to the point before she went away on tournaments. I was the only parent who signed a disclaimer medical thing that they would do whatever they needed to do with her. I was the only one who signed that before she went away on tournaments, because every tournament there was something happened and she'd get injured. Yeah. Right. And it got to the point every tournament she was actually in hospital right at the very end. But that's so
she played hard.
But so I knew her life purpose was going to be around the body. I knew that because she kept questioning, every time she had an injury or an illness, she was like, what does this mean? And she would dig into it. And that was from a young age, every time she did something. And so I was like, oh my God, you're going to do something
to do with physical health.
It had to be something like that. Yeah. So she's been on that life purpose. And so when you look at it, she's been on that life purpose for some time, but didn't bring it down in the funnel to something specific. When she was looking at having a knee operation, she dug into what the knee operation was, what the government, we have a thing in New Zealand called ACC, Accident Compensation Corporation, and they pay for accidents. And so she was having a knee operation with them, which was pretty much a full knee replacement when she was 16, I think it was 15 or 16, because of water polo. But she dug into that. She went, I'm going to investigate this. And she found a different way of doing stuff, right? Different way. And so she didn't have that knee operation. There's a whole lot behind that. I'm just trying to filter it but there was a whole lot behind that. But so I knew at that time, definitely she's on her life purpose. Yeah. Because that was her, I know Dr. Demartini says your void drives your values. And so that was her void. Her void was resolving that, and that drove her. So we knew that. So when people say, I don't know what my life purpose is, like, where's my big red jacket to put on to get rid of my black one? You're on it. And I just want to give that emphasis of how long that journey had been and how simple it had been. I could see it because that's what I knew, I can see that because that's who I am. Yeah. My job. Yeah. Yeah.
And so likewise for, my life purpose is I am an out-of-the-box problem solver. I help people access their inner wisdom and their truth and find calmness very quickly. I've been that all my life. since probably the first time I can really get clear on that, I think I would been about 8 years old. And so now all of that to say, it doesn't mean that I always followed it. There were times in my life that I was away from it. I've talked before on episodes about me being in a cult. I've also worked in a corporate world, but even in those experiences, I was still doing something around that problem solving, calming the energy around me, and helping people get in touch with their own inner wisdom or their intuition, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same as what you just said with Sophie. It's like, yes, we can keep evolving. Finding your life purpose does not mean it's the one thing that you do all the time, although it's a thread that carries you through every experience.
It's a thread. I like that, because it semi is the one thing you do all the time, but it's in a different form sometimes.
Yeah. It can evolve as you evolve and learn more things. I mean, it's like you too with what you do. It's where what you're doing is an accumulation of all the things that you've evolved through. But like me, you can probably sit and say there's the common thread all the way through.
Well, I'm a stressologist, and I giggle at that because I go, gosh, even when I was an executive assistant to the CEO of the DHB, District Health Board, all these labels, that sort of stuff. What did I do? I helped people deal with stress and conflict. They would come to the CEO's office in despair. I would make sure the CEO would have his papers to go to his meetings or anything. I was just constantly problem solving on a different level. And that's exactly it. Now I get paid differently for it compared to back then. It wasn't just taking the minutes. You'd take the minutes and you'd sit there and you go, why don't they just do that, that, and that? And then you'd slip a note and what about that, that, and that? I was constantly finding a solution. And so it's just that thread all the way through. And I had to giggle because I was talking to someone recently and they said, what is your official business name? And my official business name is Universal Connections Limited. But I don't use it anymore. It's Debz Cooper, but I had to giggle because she said, oh my God, this is what you do. You connect people, Universal Connections. You're constantly connecting people. You go to a networking event, you hear someone say, I have this problem. And you go, oh, I know someone who can help you with that. Right. Oh, I know. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And I hadn't even thought about that either. And so that's that whole part of problem solving. So I had to giggle that, 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I started my business and I called it literally that, Universal Connections. Right. Because it was just, all I did was I pieced together one piece of the puzzle and put it together. And then I connected people as well, or connected solutions as well. So that thread has been all the way through. I just didn't know it.
You didn't know it. And then that's the thing about what we're saying about, are you following your life's purpose? Well, you are. We all are. But sometimes we need to just allow ourselves to maybe even unconsciously follow the thread. And then you can create some space and time and review, like what situations and scenarios did you gravitate toward? Like you're saying about the problem solving. At one point, I used to do bookkeeping and financial control work for lots of different companies. So really what I was doing in a lot of ways, I would be taking profit and loss reports and explaining to a business person what was going on in their business. So I'm translating giving complete clarity to, this is what's going on, here's the weak points, here's where you got to beef this up, and actually translating. People would just look at a profit and loss sheet and go, I have no idea, there's all these numbers. But I could take it and actually make it make sense to people. So it's the same thing, right? It's like I'm taking things that sometimes people can see some of these ideas as very complicated. But the feedback that I get from people, even now in the work that I do, is that all they do is they sit and listen to me and I take things apart and then they go, oh, I get it. I can do that, or I can feel into that. I feel calm around that.
Yeah, right? That makes sense. That's so simple.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then you're like, it is simple. It is simple. But I think we get, I'm going to throw the word desperate in there. I believe we get so desperate for an outcome on many, many levels. And if you're desperate for that life purpose and then someone tells you you're on it, oh, I don't want to be on this one. This is not what I want. No, this is not, like, I'm feeling drained. I'm feeling that. No, you're not. You're doing 100% of something when really you could be doing 80% of that and 20% into another, not another thread, but another angle of how to do it. But it's desperation. It's our desperation that drives us to burnout.
Absolutely, but it's a fear-based mentality. That I was saying to you when you were telling the story about Sophie, about the conditioning. So we, as a collective, we are all conditioned to live in a certain pattern or a rhythm, right? You go to school, you go to high school, you get these grades, you get this career, you get, your family, you get married, have your 2.4 kids, blah, blah, blah. It's all
white
conditioning.
picket fence.
It's
Don't forget that white picket fence. Yeah.
Yes, of course, the white picket fence. But you see, even that is
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
silly as that is, or not silly, we can't then gauge where we are in relation to our life purpose or our own calling based upon all of those isms, because maybe that's not your thing. And so then the thing about the desperation and that fear-based thing is kind of like, oh, I have to keep doing, I have to keep just forcing through and push through and overcome obstacles, and instead of walking around them or right.
Yeah, jumping over it. Yeah, and we do get we do let things complicate you, and the more you sit in that sphere of awareness, or unawareness, actually probably more unawareness, the more you're not going to be able to get out.
That's right.
And when you feel like you're in that that tornado of the water flushing down the drain,
yeah, spiraling down the drain.
Yeah. That's when you've got to put your hand up and grab it. But it doesn't mean, I think the thing is you can change it at any time. So my thing is, it was a pet hate. I couldn't believe it in schools. I've never done anything about it. It's just a pet hate that I'll just hold on to. And one of them is 3 years before you leave school, you need to start going, what's my university papers? What am I going to do at university?
Right.
Now you are, I don't know, 14 years old. Do you know where you're going to go at 14?
Nope.
Not many people know where they're going at 14. And if they do, are they putting on parents' perceptions?
Yeah. Are they taking it on because of a mentor or
we're all lawyers here. You need to be a lawyer too.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a natural healer. I don't think so. You can't be a natural healer.
Everybody in this family are lawyers. So come
all
on.
lawyers, yes. Yes, until you get burnt out, you have to become a natural healer anyway. Right. But that's 3 years. You've got to start deciding on what you're going to apply to university for, and you've got to put your whole subjects, your school exam subject. That's what it's like in New Zealand. Before, so we say university, you say college, and overseas, and then when you go to college or university and you study those things.
Because we do university here too. Some people are really, they know that track and that's what they're going to do. Yeah,
but then you come out of there and you do a year, and like in that first year, people study marketing or whatever. I'm just saying marketing. And then after the first year, they're like, I need to change. I can't do this. This is not for me.
Yeah.
And so in their second, third, and fourth year, they've changed something completely different. And then when they come out, they do a year of maybe they're qualified to be a lawyer. They do a year of being a law student, law intern.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then they change. So they're seen as wasting 5 years of their life No, they haven't wasted 5 years of their life.
It's
I want to say
never
this
a
to
waste.
all. I want to say this to parents and anyone who's done this. You haven't wasted. You're just in that holding phase of defining who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if it takes you 5 years to do that,
Yeah.
you've learned something in that 5 years. So just stop and get present and go, what did I learn in that time? Never to do this again. That's not it. But what did you learn in that 5 years of that defining stage or refining stage?
But it's also because it's about just being willing to say it's just experience. It's all experience. And I get upset.
But how many times do you have people say that? Like, oh, I've just wasted 5 years.
That's what I'm saying. It's actually something that I get upset about because I don't believe we ever waste time. Yeah. We sometimes, because the analogy I like to say is that if you sit there and you have a destination in mind, you're sitting in New Zealand and you decide I'm going to get to North America. Yeah. Well, you can go on the fast track, right? You can, I mean, you can't drive to North America. But let's say, no, let's
or you
just
can get on a boat and sit in a car in the boat.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that.
You can, it'll just take ages. Yeah.
But that's my point. So you could do that way, or you could, so that would be the scenic route that takes a long, long time. You're still going to get there. Yeah. Right. Just a few months later. Right. But or you could, wobbles. Or you could get on a flight and be there the next day. Yeah. Right. So but that's the thing too, is that.
So what do you learn in the scenic route?
Exactly. And even when you're on the scenic route, so let's talk about a freeway, you're going from point A to point B, and you can choose to go on the freeway, which is the quicker, more direct route, or you can get off the freeway at any point and take little side trips and scenic route. And at any point you can get, if you're feeling like you're really lost in the weeds and like, oh, no, you know what, I'm going to just go hop back onto the freeway. Yeah. But that's what this is about. And that's how come I say, you never waste time. Maybe you just took a little detour. What did you learn? What did you become aware of? What fun, what uplifting
what are you grateful for on that detour?
Yeah. What did you appreciate during that?
Because you couldn't have had you can't have, if we were to label a detour, you can't have a detour without some beautiful, amazing opportunity that you wouldn't have done, that wouldn't have had.
Yep. And even sometimes those awesome awakenings are just something about how you felt about yourself. It could just be like, oh, I've run at every single goal or every single problem and just gone like really, really direct and hard-headed. And then, hey, I took this detour and I found out that I actually really quite like my company. And I do enjoy resting and finding my own best rhythm. Yeah. But you wouldn't know that unless you chose to do it in a wee bit of a different way, right?
No, and I mean, even it's just so, like people say, oh, I wish I'd never met that person. They ruined my life. It's like, okay, you get that. I wish I'd never met my boyfriend. Wish I'd never met my husband. They ruined my life. I'm like, okay, but you've got 3 beautiful children out of them. Oh yeah, but that would have been with someone else. No, but they would have been different.
No, they wouldn't. They would have been different. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then they're like, no, they'll be the same. Okay, so your current partner's one color, your old partner's another color skin, so they would be different, just to make it really freaking clear. Even the size, the
DNA
physical,
is completely different.
Yeah, I know. It's like duh, but of course I don't go duh. I just think it, because I do hold some stuff in my head
in Debz fashion.
And do you duh? But then it's like, and you wouldn't be living in where you'll be living. You had the opportunity to leave your family, opportunity to leave your home, opportunity for these children to go to an amazing school and have them playing sport. And then they're like, oh, all right, okay, so really I shouldn't be saying that my husband was the biggest mistake in my life. No, definitely you actually should be saying that's the most amazing experience of my life, because look what it gave me. Where's your freaking gratitude to all the beautiful stuff? Yes, you may have felt you've gone through hell for 3 years or 5 years or whatever, but in reality you're just looking at one-sided of the occasion.
But it's also when people say things like that, they're actually not recognizing that absolutely everything that we do in our life is our responsibility, nobody else's. So if you say, oh, I wish I'd never met this person, well, who did you become when you met that person? Now let's work on that, shall we? It's got nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Right? It's who
But
you
it's the little
became or
things.
what you gave up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it's gratitude straight right there and then. What are you grateful for? Like, you know, and even the person arguing with me, well, no, I still have these children. Might not. Your partner may not be able to have children or whatever.
Exactly.
You know? And your partner's in another town.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that and like I say, that is, to me, it's like the thing about wasting time or saying, I wish I'd never had this experience, or I wish I'd never done this. Like, no, you did it, but you did. And sometimes
you did. But at the end of the day, you did.
You did.
So move on from you did.
You did. And then sometimes, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation about this following your life purpose, about guilt and shame. Sometimes we need to forgive ourselves, to say, you know, I made this choice, or I hooked up with this person 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and I did it based on what I knew or what I felt at that point. So I let it go. I forgive myself.
Yeah. I'm grateful for that lesson, because I learned this and this from it. I found myself again. I defined who I was. I realized that what they were throwing at me was because, you know, maybe you weren't empowered enough in that area.
Yeah, maybe you didn't believe in yourself enough.
Yeah, maybe your finances were poor and they kept taking money off you until you stood up and woke up and went, actually, I need to take governance of my own finances. That's or whatever.
And I have the right to stick up a boundary and say, you can't cross this, because I have the right to say, I'm looking after my well-being.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting, look, I say this with most of our things, it's an interesting topic, but you know, our life purpose is living and breathing through us. You may not want to hear that. And I'm not slapping you right here, right now, waking you up.
She's just giving you a wee loving nudge though.
But you're already on your life purpose. Your life purpose is what's happening here right now. Now you can, you may find you are in a 9 emotionally, or were at the start of this call. You may feel you're a 9 and you're going, but I hate my life purpose. Then that's okay, because you can change stuff. You're obviously doing stuff that's uninspiring to you. So delegate some stuff, find some people around you to wake up, to help you wake up. And you know what really lights you up, where does that glitter sprinkle around? You know, you've got Debz and Moira here. Reach out to us privately or on the page or anything, because this juices us up.
This is what lights us up. But you know, I wanted to come back to something you just said there. If somebody says, I hate my life purpose, to me it says that they are not acknowledging, because I don't believe anybody really hates their life purpose. If they really knew what that thread was, it would just be lighting them up. But perhaps they don't like the expression that they're in right now of that, right? So if your life purpose is to make people smile, you could be on stage being a comic. You could actually just be a greeter at a store and having some beautiful comment.
I was just going to say you could be that, or you could be a nail technician, as I see your nails. You know.
Yes. So it doesn't matter. And so if somebody starts getting stuck and saying, "Oh, I hate this," or I'm not liking my job, then maybe it's time to reevaluate and say, how can I better follow this gift, this unique piece that I have? Calling, right?
There's a client I worked with many years ago, and she was, I would say, a high profile businesswoman. And then she had 2 children. Now that's fine, she had 2 children close together, but she wanted to get back to that high profile businesswoman. She wanted to wear the outfits, go out and have people talk to her and get her mind inspired and all that. And when I showed her that she's still the CEO of an organization, but she's only got 2 legacies instead of a whole lot.
Right.
she realized, oh my God, I'm actually already doing it. I am
Yeah.
the boss lady, or whatever, you know, you want to label it or whatever.
Yeah,
I
that's
am doing
beautiful.
that,
That's
but I'm doing it
beautiful.
in a different form.
Mhm.
And what I'm building is I'm building a legacy for these two that they can then go out and build their own legacy.
Yeah.
And at that moment, her whole world just changed, because she didn't like her children. She didn't like her children, which you could see. You could see
Right.
she didn't like her children, because all of a sudden her identity of who she was to, I'm going to have a child, everything's going to be perfect, you know, the one that just sits on your hip and, you know, speak but not seen, and, you know,
Right.
perfect little child. Yeah, wake up. What'd she get? The absolute opposite. Terror children, and couldn't control them. But when she realized she was actually already doing that at a different level, her relationship with her children changed.
That's
Her
beautiful.
relationship with her partner changed, but most important, her relationship with herself changed.
Yeah.
And
so she realized that she was following her purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just those little things that we sometimes we just get so frazzled that we can't see. So I want to say to whoever's listening that have a look at what that thread is. You know, I said reach out to Moira or Debz, Debz being me, reach out, because when you actually see those things, it just opens it up to something different.
Yeah.
And you're not left in that, I want to get back to that job, I want to be powerful, I want to do this. You've got it right here with these two
in front of you. Yeah.
And every time she would have a conversation, it was so funny. Everything just, like, I couldn't have wanted the consults to go any more better than they did, because I go, so when you drop the kids at preschool, who do you talk to? Oh, I talk to the manager there. And I go, what's your conversation about? Oh, I just give her little tips about business. Okay. And so what do you do when you, I know, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, and so what do you talk to the other mums? Yes. And I give them a little helps, or they help me with stuff, and it's, you know, and I'm like, okay, so can you see you've got your woman network around you? And she's like, oh my God, we're sharing tips. She said, but I don't want to share baby food tips, or I don't want, I'm like, okay, so what's the impact of sharing that baby food tip? Well, I'm stopping that child from having reflux, because we've gone through it, and I'm sharing this. Okay, so you're giving something with impact, you know, and everything just dropped down. I've got my little goosies. Everything just dropped down to being so easy for me to consult. Oh my God, it was just so easy. I was like, what's going to throw up now? But she was so frazzled and so determined to be that CEO boss lady again, or whatever you want to label it. She was so determined to be that she forgot what she had around her.
So she had really attached to the label, or that one way of doing
of wearing the heels
gift.
Of wearing the heels, putting on that outfit and being powerful. But in reality,
and that's what we've been talking about, is that there are multitudinous ways for us to share our unique gifts and our passions. It's to get in touch with what is that thread. Yeah. And then recognize that you're in it. You're in it, right?
I know.
We've both shared that in our conversation, is that we both recognize that in ourselves, is that, it's always been there. It's what makes you gravitate towards certain scenarios and choices, and what makes your heart sing when you get into the groove of it, right?
Sometimes, just like her, I saw it. I'm like, duh.
Yeah, that's funny.
Deborah going, duh.
Oftentimes people see it before we do, right?
But for her, it was too much. But when she saw it, her whole world changed. Her whole world just changed from that. And you can't ask anything more significant than that.
Absolutely not. No, that was beautiful. Awesome conversation about following your life purpose. Obviously, Deb and I both are.
Yes.
Awesome conversation. But let's check in. And dear listeners, if you did write down or note the number on your scale of 0 to 10, 0 being completely zenned out, and 10 being like chaos and, oh my God, I don't know what my purpose is. Where would you put yourself? You were at a 2 to begin with.
I was at a 2. I've got a few people to make accountable.
Okay.
I'm actually going to say a 0. I have a different level. I was curious to see if somebody's going to pop up, but a couple of voices in my head went, talk to that client. And I'm going to reach out to that other client as well. Old client. Yeah. Very so cool. Could be listening right now.
Could be.
Yeah, so I'm going to say a 0. So you're a 0 and then a 1.5 for
That's
the,
right. And I would say I'm at a 0. I just love talking about this. And I really do hope that our riffing back and forth has helped people kind of just sit in and reflect and go,
if it doesn't, let us know.
Yes, please do. And of course, like Deb said too, if you need any more help or support, please do reach out to us. You can reach out privately or on the Facebook group where we host some of these. All right, my dear. Thank you, dear listeners. Thank you, dear Deb. Awesome, deliciously motivated mindset conversation. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.